Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, we
Oh,
are, on Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube Live. That's tradition. And if you
yeah.
can be so kind and put in the comment line that you can hear and see us, it is a very hot in Prague and in are you in Zurich? I think
I'm
you
in
are.
Zurich, and you can see by my background, and
You
we
are
are
back.
melting, people, melting.
Absolutely. It is like 34 degrees. I have in this room, there's a 31 degrees. And I
Ah,
switched off the airco because it was, too noisy. So if you can be so kind and put in the comment lines, I will check also. YouTube is on. Good evening to Finland. Yeah. I will check
Finland.
LinkedIn on my phone. It
Yes.
looks like all is fine. Yeah. All
And I
right.
think today's topic is such a good topic because everyone went away on holidays. It was lovely. We could enjoy the heat maybe by relaxing at the pool and stuff. And now we're back to the everyday life.
Yeah. It's
And
up and running LinkedIn. All right. Yeah. So good evening, everybody. Again, very hot in Prague, Zurich, and I think it's everywhere in Europe when I look at the map.
exactly.
It's probably better in some Nordic countries. And in London, I'm in over the weekend. I will be for a wedding in Liverpool, and there should be 17 degrees and rain. So that's perfect.
So you have something to look forward to.
Absolutely. No,
The,
my co-author of the first book, The Positive Leader,
yeah.
Melina Costi, she's getting married over the weekend.
Oh,
So
wonderful. That's great that you can be there. And look, if it's so hot tonight, it means we're going to have a very sexy show. I'm sure we're going to be
yeah,
sweating and
absolutely, absolutely.
and it's a
Okay,
hot topic for tonight.
it is.
I'll kick it off if you're all right with that
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we're
Yeah,
talking about coming back from holidays. Everybody takes a break. You go to holidays, you read the book you've been meaning to read, you have some distance to think. You have all these brilliant ideas. I am not going to get caught up in the rat race again. I'm not going to get so stressed. I'm not going to let work take over my life. I'm going to go to the fitness center. I'm going to, spend more time with my kids. We have all these amazing commitments that come out of realizations when we have time over summer holidays. And everybody says, I come back, I'm ready, things are going to be different. And then 1 to 2 days later, and you're already back to the exact same old thing and never anything changed. So, what we want to talk about here today is how do we keep that spirit alive, that excitement alive, those changes, that idea that things can be different. How do we actually implement that so that life is indeed actually different? We're going to talk today about how to start creating habits, how to set new habits, and most importantly, it's usually not a knowledge gap. It's not that you don't know how to implement something. It's usually that you have to be so committed because it's hard work to change. Your brain says, no, stay the same, safe, comfortable, easy. It takes a lot of effort to go above and beyond that. So, we're going to talk today about how to get so motivated that even when your brain says no, you say yes. That's my introduction. I don't know, Jan, if you want to kick it off with a few words before we go into
yeah,
details.
yeah, absolutely. And I have a lot of details.
As always, you're so good.
Yeah, indeed. If wherever you are in your life, you are there because of your decisions in the past. It's called karma. Our karma, where we are today, consists of our decisions or activities from the past. Our karma for the future will be done from now on. Our decisions from now on. So decisions are key. You are not defined by environment, or you should not be defined by the other people. You are defined by your decisions. Okay. If we go to the history, to the fairy tale, all right, if what Cinderella did, Cinderella went for the ball. Okay, she made decision. She went for the ball. Okay, if she would not go for the ball, she would not be at the castle. She would be in the deep shit. All right, so she made a real decision to go and be proactive. That's why she became probably princess afterwards. Whatever. Right? And
Jan,
as
can I interrupt here with just a
all
little
right.
story of how I met my husband? I don't
Okay,
mean
yeah,
to interrupt, but it's exactly this kind of
Cinderella
story, right?
story. All right, tell me.
Now, now
I'm sure that you were proactive. I'm sure you were
I
proactive.
was so proactive. Here's the thing. My husband, I was living in San Diego, California at the time. My husband was out at a nightclub. And if for anybody who knows Swiss men, they don't approach women. That's not in the culture. It's very uncomfortable. The Swiss women are like, get away, we don't want you. And so it's very uncommon. And so, of course, me being me, I saw a handsome, good looking fella, and I leaned over and I said something. And for him, he was like, who's she talking to? Like, what's happening here? And then I leaned over and I started talking again and again. And I made that happen for us because we would have stood next to each other the entire night. He never would have said a word.
You see?
That's the difference in take a chance, go, speak up. What's the worst that happens? You meet your Prince Charming. So I had to put that in there. It was the exact
That's
same
how.
story.
Yeah, that's how American Girl appeared in Switzerland.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anyway, so as Lisa rightly said, our brain hates, changes and decisions, basically, right? Our brains like status quo
Yes.
because all, decisions and all changes require a lot of energy, and we want to consume, very little energy. That's why our brain likes very much routines, okay? And routines are good, but at some point you need to make decisions in your life, right? It was funny enough, like 1 week ago we had a children camp over the weekend, and some lady, she asked me, how should we teach our kids to make some decisions? I said, by making decisions. You should coach them like every day in the evening. Hey, Joe or Ann, tell me 3 decisions you made today. Maybe it's a decision to walk a dog, whatever, small decision, but it's still good for your brain. And I think this is it, right? This is what is happening. And in fact, there is a great book called "Who Is Your City" from Richard Florida. I think I mentioned the book. Florida basically did some research, and he figured out that there are like 40 or 50 mega cities around the world. It's not only the city, but surroundings and so on. And while there are living only 40% of the population, it's 80% of the economical output, GDP, right? So it's a huge thing. And he asked the question, what does it take to have this, mega city, the megapole? And he talks about the 3T. Number one, that city needs to be, or that city pole needs to be attractive for the talented, people. Number one, talent. Number two, tolerance, right? To have like diversity in all, directions. And number three, it is technology. And he talks about 3 big decisions human beings are making in their lives. Number one, what will be my job? Okay. What I will do in my life. Okay. And it's good to connect it with your meaning. We talked about it, recently. Number two, who will be my partner? And as Lisa did, some decisions, started to talk to some, boy at the time, it paid off, right? That's number two. And number three, who will be your place where you will live and where you will live? I mean, a lot of people are making decisions. Oh, we will go there because it's cheaper, whatever. No, you should take in account what are your skills, what is environment there, what is the neighborhood and stuff like that. Because really, the place we live, it's very important, right? Unless you have a crazy job like me for 20 years, you are like traveling the world, doesn't matter that much. But now it matters to me, right?
Yeah,
So this is it. And let's now talk both about personal decisions and professional decisions.
From my side, should I step in? Yep.
Yeah, you whatever, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
perfect. So for me, I think it's very important when you're making these personal decisions, for example, but even in professional life. What I tell people is most of the time we are risk averse, right? We don't like changes. We're not sure how it's going to go. We'd rather keep the status quo of what's kind of bad, but at least we know it, right? Stick with the devil that you know instead of the devil that you don't know. And our brains will do this. But then 10 years go by, 20 years go by, 30 years go by. And that's when you realize I haven't really lived the life I wanted, or I never really understood what do I want. right? Many people get stuck in golden handcuffs. I just have a job that pays me well enough and it's too much of a risk to leave. And we gotta stop living our lives on the defense. If you really want to implement changes in your life and at work, you have to get so excited about something. As we said, that motivation has to be so strong that you're going to be able to override. You are going to hear it's a risk to move countries or locations. It's a risk to quit a new job. I can't tell you how many people right now are complaining to me about their corporate jobs and say, oh, you know, it's so amazing for the people who can quit and build their own businesses and really have something going. And then they sit and still do their corporate job. And I'm like, it is amazing. I've done the leap. How can I help you? But we let fear make our decisions. We let risk aversion make our decisions. We let not wanting to jump into the unknown make our decisions for us. And I want to challenge each one of you, first things first. Don't panic. You don't have to quit your job yet, but you need to get really clear. What do you actually want out of your life? When you're 90, you're sitting in your rocking chair, you're in your old age, you're reflecting on your life, and actually you're happy. And you say, oh, that was such a good life. That was really amazing. I really made it happen. What would that look like? What would you be reflecting on that you would say, my life was great? And already take that exercise with you, go journaling about it tomorrow, and start to think what's really important to me. Only from there, when we're really excited, really committed, can we start to say, okay, it's a change, but I want it. I want it that badly.
Exactly.
And the other, I love this, Dalibor here has said, yes, absolutely, we need to cross out of our comfort zone. Please, I know comfort zone, we say, okay, I'll get out of my comfort zone. I'll take a salsa lesson. No, we're talking about for your life. Yes, of course, we need food. We need to have a place to live. But I really want people to start thinking differently. And there's an exercise you can do called fear planning. So actually face your fears. Don't let them swirl in your head and say, no, it couldn't happen. Take out a piece of paper, write down everything that could go wrong. I could quit my job and have no income. And then what? And then I would lose my house. And then I would have no place, you know, no food to eat. Fine. Keep those and actually list them. Facing those, what's the likelihood you're not going to have any food, right? When I do my fear planning and I look at that, it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to starve because worst comes to worst, I get a job at a restaurant or Starbucks or something, right? There's a job that I could get. I wouldn't starve. For a house, I can live with my parents, my husband's parents. We have friends. I have siblings. I would not be homeless. Like, let's absolute worst case scenario. I would still have food. I would still have some income. I would still have a roof over my head. There's really not that far to fall. And this is the kind of stuff that your brain needs to work through before you can say, okay, so actually, now that I'm facing it, what am I so nervous about? So with fear planning, you label out what are your fears? What's that worst case scenario that you really never even dare to say out loud? And then you say, look, what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen? So of course, I'm going to, you know, if I'm building a new business, I'm going to do my very best to build that business so I don't have no income. And then there's the third column, which is to repair. So if it were to be that my business had absolutely no income, what else could I do, right? And I could freelance under other coaching companies. I could get my job at Starbucks. So you start to realize instead of being a victim, something might happen to me, you start to stand up and go, but I'm going to create this. I'm going to create my future. I'm going to take the power, the control. And it completely shifts how you show up to life, how you show up to risk, how you show up to thinking, ooh, I can't change. Ooh, that's hard. Ooh, that's different. I don't know how to do that. And you start to go like, okay, but even if I've never done it before, I can learn something. That is where the magic starts to happen.
Yeah, and you know, Lisa talks about something which we call in psychology negative bias, which means that, you know, your probability to have a kind of the fear or negative emotions in 10 times, you know, higher than positive emotions. Your logical part of the brain is 10 times slower than your emotional part of the brain called amygdala, right? That's why you need to give your professor, chance to think logically. And I give you some tool following what Lisa nicely said. Imagine you have three different scenarios in your life, right? I'll give you my example. I used that tool 9 years ago when I was like at about take decision to leave Microsoft, right? So the first, column was like stay in the Microsoft. The second column was work
Yeah.
for some friendly company like, LinkedIn or whatever, on Twitter at that time, or to have a really like portfolio career. Okay. So you have like three scenarios, three different columns. We have a spreadsheet, three different columns. Then in each and every line, based on the rational, thinking, you put there what criteria, like your personal values, whatever, what is important for you. For me, it was like freedom, stay like kind of the financial, the salary, whatever, right? And I wanted to travel less, spend more time with the family, whatever. There was like 10 different items. And for each and every cell, you put, one lowest score, 10 the highest score. Okay. Then you sum up at the bottom, and you will pick up the best scenario based on your like logical, rational thinking. Like no amygdala, no, monkey thinking, nothing. No, Joe told me whatever. No, those are your values, your decision. And it's really like in 20 minutes you can do it. Okay. Easy as it is. Second point, I wanted to mention, whatever will you decide in your life, you should have in mind there's a huge difference between pleasure and happiness. Those are two different
Mm.
items. Okay. Pleasure is great, but pleasure is coming from some external stuff. It can be salary, it can be golden medal from Olympic Games, whatever. Right? It can be the fact that you were promoted in your job, whatever. But the pleasure is very short term, and it's like external. Pleasure is, good, but it has usually there is no tie to happiness, right? Pleasure is nice. Happiness is something different. Happiness is what you feeling inside. Okay. Happiness is your internal state, basically, what you really love. And happiness is not like one point, but it's the journey. What do you love, right? And if you will, why it's so important? Because sometimes people are taking decisions just for the pleasure to have, more money, or to be more with the friends, whatever. Maybe friends will move on, and you will be alone. So you need to balance. I mean, I have nothing against money or whatever. No, no, no. Right. You need to balance pleasure and happiness, but
Yeah.
ask yourself, hey, will that decision of mine today make me happy 10 years from now still? Okay. And those are very important, points. Okay. Then I will, move on and talk a little bit. There are like six major human needs, if you will. Okay. We love stability. I mean, our brain likes, no change, stability, status quo. It's called homeostasis, On the other hand, imagine situation when you would go to the football game and you would know upfront what will be the result.
Yeah.
That would be boring, right?
Yeah.
That means that we like stability, but we like also surprise. Wha- That's why we like in the surprise. We like, surprise if somebody is winning who was not supposed to win, whatever. So that's first, point. So all of those are like there are six of them, those needs, and they are in couples, and they go a little bit contradictory. Okay. The second point, we love significance. We love to be recognized
Yeah.
by the other people. Okay, so we love significance. On the other hand, we love connection to the other people. Give you example. If you are a football player in the team, you like to be connected with the other players. On the other hand, there are only 11 players playing every time. So you are a bit competing with everybody. You know what I mean, right? Or
Yes.
defender with defenders, whatever, right? Not with everybody, but with the special roles. So, which means, again, you need to have a balance between, like, hey, I want to be significant, but you still want to be connected. Because if you want to be significant and there is like no connection whatsoever, whatever, then you are
Doesn't work.
egoistic, usually, right? You are like, anyway. So,
Yes.
uh, and then the last point, you want to grow on one side, like your personal grow, your family grow, whatever, but you want also to contribute because our brain is really wired to help other people because that's the mother nature made us to be like cooperative work, very much together. That's why we are so much ahead of the other species, right? So those are other things which are influencing to have. It's good to have them in mind if you are making some decisions, okay? Because those are like all your needs, right?
Yes, and there's a great book doing very similar to what Jan described. It's called Smart Choices. It's somewhere up here on my bookshelf. Smart Choices, and it literally tells you exactly how to lay out your choices. So it gives great examples about where to move, and you look for the neighborhood and the schools and the commute to the job, but it helps you to lay it out. And for those of you who have a little bit of a fear around risk, this is a great way to feel you are controlling your risk or optimizing to get to the best decision. So you feel really good about your decision. So find the ways that work for you where you say, hey, I'm noticing that I'm afraid, nervous, uncomfortable, uncertain, whatever you're feeling, and find ways to be able to meet those needs. Jan said it so nicely. This book, Smart Choices, can help you to really lay out any decision, big decision that you're going to make. The other thing that, as Jan was talking, came to me, and I'm frantically scribbling, going, I have to say this, is that I want you to think back to your childhood, everyone, because you know this about how we actually fall in love or how we love, and there are attachment styles. So the easiest way for me to describe this is when you were with a parent, did they pay you attention and they were there for you and they were very supportive? If yes, the natural thing for a child would be to then go wander and take risks and go try something. And then once they fell or were scared, they could run back and have their stability. So when Jan talks about, okay, how do we have our stability, but also not go to a football game where we already know what the score is, boring, we have an innate nature to want to learn, to grow, to explore, to be an adventurer. But we need a foundation of stability. Now, here's what's happened recently in the world. Everything's changing. Work is uncertain. AI is coming. Jobs are changing. So we've actually, even if you have a loving parent, loving spouse, we've lost so much stability that we almost have lost some of our adventurous spirit because we don't have any of that security where we say, okay, now I'm safe enough to go take a risk. What that means is not, okay, take no risks. What that means is you all need to start forming a sense of stability in the middle of chaos. And how do we do that? How do we stay certain when things are uncertain? It starts with this inner trust and inner belief. So every time that I'm doing sports, I have a trainer and they're like, oh, is this too hard? Can you do it? I'm like, I birthed 2 children. I can handle this, right? Like it's all relative. I have trust that I will make it through this. I'm getting yelled at by a client. I have clients breaking down and fighting in front of me. I am not panicking. I'm not nervous. I'm not running away because I know I've been through worse and I will be fine. As long as I'm still alive, everything else is figure outable. And when you have this deep trust, like I've been through worse, I know I can get through this, I can handle anything, that becomes your form of stability. From there, you can start to go, well, let me play with this. Let me dabble a little bit over here. Let me try this out. Because your stability comes from your trust within yourself to be able to handle whatever comes up your way. Try this out. Small, please, everybody, start small. There's comfort zone, small in the circle here. There's learning zone, which is a little bit bigger. And then there's panic, terror, fear zone. Don't push yourself that far. It doesn't feel good. Your brain doesn't like it. But come just one step out of the comfort zone. Make it a micro habit. So I want everyone who's listening here to think about what's one thing you can take a small risk. Please don't like put your job and, move to Malawi or something, but start something small and say, what's one extra risk that I could take here? It might be as simple as signing up for a piano lesson or going to a singing class, right? It doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be emotional, but something that you say, I kind of want this. I kind of like this, but you never give yourself the permission to just move a little bit forward in it and see where that takes you. Because once you do that and your brain goes, oh, actually, that wasn't scary. That wasn't bad. That was cool, right? Oh, you messed up all the steps in your tango class, but actually you still had fun. And next time you'll be able to tango a little bit better, right? Once you tell your brain you took a risk and it was safe, it was good even, guess what your brain predicts the next time you want to take a risk? Well, this is okay. Small risks work out. So you train your brain to not go, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. You actually train your brain to go, yeah, I could do this. Okay, let's take that step. And it's these small steps, it's these micro habits that over time, if every month you just took one small step towards your goal, that's it. You've created your life in a year, 2 years, 3 years. You are that much farther. But make it easy for your brain, make it safe for your brain. Give yourself your own stability to move forward.
Yeah. And to follow what Lisa said, external stability is really illusion. There's, everything is changing, right? And today it was always changing, but it was not changing that rapidly. Today it's changing rapidly because everything is on the exponential rate. Okay. But our internal stability should be based on our body, our breath, and our, mind. Okay. This is it. This is it. And what you can do, whatever is the situation, imagine that you will approach let's, play the roles. Okay. Lisa will be some, girlfriend, at the disco, and I'm the boy, and I'm approaching Lisa. Okay. And I will go like that. Lisa, you look really gorgeous. It's really nice to talk to. Okay. You feel like a shit. I mean, even after those 20 seconds, I felt like shit. Okay. Yeah. Or you go like that and you say, Lisa, you really like gorgeous today. It's fantastic.
Thank
right?
you.
And so what it does, it's called power posing. Your body, if you take whatever is the size of your body, okay. If you take your body in the straight way, in 30 seconds, you can change your physiology. Is changing your psychology. And that's when you will, in fact, straight body is producing internal certainty. That's what your brain wants. Your straight body means like, okay, everything is fine because you feel like a lion. Everything is fine, yeah. Right? When I was coaching Yuri, we were in the tournament. Yuri Lehecka is now 33rd on the ranking in the ATP. I was, calling him Lion King. So he walks like the Lion King. I mean, when you watch over the weekend, Djokovic, Alcaraz, the final in Cincinnati. Alcaraz got a match ball. Djokovic was still moving like a real lion, right? Yeah. So the body language is key for like externally, but even more importantly, like internally, because it's getting the right, setting up the right hormones. In 30 seconds, your stress hormone, your cortisols go down by 25%. Your energy hormone goes by 20% up, right? Testosterone, and your ability to make decisions, to take a risk, as Lisa talked, is up by 30%, right? Yes. So this is it. And if you add your breathing, then it's hard. If you really stay like a lion and you're breathing deeply, it's hard to have some negative mindset.
Yes. And I'll share with you all, if a lion doesn't resonate with you, when I walk into a room, I don't have an ego. I don't think I'm the best, powerful, most important person in the world. But I tell myself, if you were the most important person in this room, how would you show up? If you were a CEO, if you were a billionaire, if you were, whatever, Bill Gates, how would you walk into this room? And then that's how I walk in. Why shouldn't I walk in the same way? It's not about ego pumping myself up. I'm great, I'm amazing, but it's just, why not? Why couldn't I walk in that same way with that same confidence? So I imagine myself, I am the CEO, I am, the most important person in the room. And then I walk in with that aura, and people treat you the way you show up. Although, Jan, we do have in the comments that no matter what you look like, any woman would say yes for you.
Hey,
it's
Mika,
always a yes.
Maybe 30 years ago. No, this is interesting. A couple of years ago, I was at the Imperial College, and unfortunately, I was there, like I was having a lesson for the students. I was in the shorts and t-shirt like that, okay? And Paolo, who is my friend, is a professor. He was professor there with the UCL. He basically said, "Jan, there is a new dean from Portugal. I want to introduce you." So I went in the shorts, and the dean was obviously in the tie. And I said, "Sorry, I'm underdressed," but I behave normally. Said, "Yeah, you don't need to. You are, personality on your own. You don't need to have a, suit." And I was like, "Okay, thank you very much. It's very kind of you."
But
And
that's exactly it. Show up with the confidence no matter what you look like.
exactly, guys, the confidence, it doesn't mean that you are winning. If you have a confidence, it doesn't mean that you are winning all the time, but it means that your performance in that particular moment will be on the optimal level, whatever you are able to do today. Okay, whether it's some sport performance or personal performance, doesn't matter, but this is it.
Yes, we have a great comment from Pavla if you want to bring that up.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Jan can share. I think we need to create a habit in trusting in ourselves and practice this in every situation when we would normally start panicking. And it's not easy, but it becomes easier and easier with every small success. That's it.
Exactly.
Think of yourself as, this is just an exercise. I'm training my brain. I'm training my brain. If things don't go well, you say, no problem. I'm still training my brain. No threat here. I'm in sales. Obviously, when I say I'm in sales, I run a company. I have to sell. Otherwise, I am in that worst case scenario where I have no money, right? And actually, what I learned when I first started working is maybe is actually the worst answer. A yes, obviously, great. A no is actually also great because you don't have to waste your time and energy and effort and following up and is it and could it be and I don't know and it's uncertain and it's open and it's a yes or a no is actually great. The maybe, the uncertainty, the not knowing causes problems. Start to have that mentality in life. I teach my young daughters, to my girls, I say, you always have a right to make a request for something. If you want more sauce, if you want to watch TV, whatever it is, you have the right to request, but I have the right to say yes or no. And then you have to respect that. But same with what Pavla has written here, slowly start building how much more you ask for things, how you show up a little bit differently. Over time, your brain will go, this is normal, this is good, we can do this. And then you have the life you want.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a great book from Carol Dweck called Mindset, about fixed and growth mindset. And she talks about not yet. Okay. And I will read for you my player, Iri. He was playing 10 days ago with Root. Root is number 5. It's the top
Great.
5 player. Okay. And this is what I wrote. He lost, but it was very tight. This is what I wrote him. Great performance, which showed that you can play very good matches with top 5. We are not there yet, but we are moving ahead, and this is what is important. So,
Yes.
there is a one thing, right? Because you can easily go and put the sticker on you like I'm the master or I'm not there yet or whatever, stickers, right? Or you can say, hey, there is a performance, right? There is a, recognize yourself for the efforts. This is much better. It's kind of, if you will think like, look, I will be 62 very soon, okay? And I still think that I am the work in progress. Okay.
Yes.
No, really. And this is
Yes.
it. And this is it. That's why I'm, optimistic. And people, they measured me recently. They said biological age, 49 years. So I'm like, 13 years younger,
Great.
which is great. And this is it, right? This is it. Really take it as a, some progress. You are, nothing is definite in life, obviously, right? Which is also good. And I think optimism costs nothing, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying that I'm brutally optimistic, but I'm optimistic, right? I mean, pessimism is like, somebody asked me, some athlete asked me today, why optimism is so important. I said, because if you are pessimistic, chances are, because that's another bias, it's called confirmation bias. Okay, if you are pessimistic, your brain is looking for all proofs that you are right. Okay, if you are optimistic, it's much better, because your brain looks that for
Yes.
things that, for the proof that you are right in the optimistic level. It costs nothing. It's like your view of the future, right? And again, there are situations when you need to be more realistic, but nobody knows. There are like 25, 30 people on the here, right? And nobody knows. You guys don't know what you can achieve in your life unless you try. I can guarantee you 90% of the people around the world, they are not able to reach their potential. They are not able
Yes.
to, unlock who they really are, because the system doesn't work like that. And they think, I'm not able, to do it. We have imposter syndrome. 60% of the students in the year one in Harvard, they think that they don't belong there, right? So, and you can, I mean, you should not judge yourself unless you try, right? And it's the same in the romantic relationship. I think majority of the relationships never happen because the boy or the girl are afraid to ask, right?
Yes.
What worse can happen? You will be refused, and what, there are a lot of refusals in your life, and you still survive, right? So
Exactly. And you have to get used to, for anyone who's listening and you're going, oh, Jan, how did you get to that mindset? Why do you make it sound so easy when rejection for me is so hard? And it's really just getting an understanding that rejection is a part of playing the game. It doesn't mean you're not worthy. It doesn't mean you're not lovable. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean anything other than this opportunity didn't work out. And the minute that you can start making that difference, it doesn't mean you're bad, you're wrong, you're stupid. It just means in this situation, it didn't work out. It's not about you, it's about the situation. As soon as you can start to make that shift and you start to get used to failing a little more, okay, move on, next, it's no problem. Exactly.
Because they fear their failure and they get personally. Absolutely. FOPO,
Right.
which stays for fear of other people's opinion, is the driver why we are not, taking decisions, because we are afraid if we fail. We are not afraid if we succeed, but we are afraid if we fail. And the chances are that at some, point you may, fail, right? No, like tennis player is able to win, everything and so on, right? But the FOPO makes no sense in this century. I tell you why. FOPO in the past meant basically when somebody made some mistake and they would push him out of the group, that person would not survive. And that's what is sitting in our subconsciousness. Hey, we are maybe not surviving because we are making some mistakes. It is stupid, right? Today we can make mistakes, and it's even better to like admit your own mistakes, because I mean, look, people are suffering because they are not able to accept the past. Okay, and it can be good past, it can be bad past, but we are not able to accept what happened cannot be changed unless you change the law of causality, and that's the
would love to know how you do that. I mean,
I didn't have a physics last 42 years probably, but I still, remember quite a few things.
Yes. I mean, the big question for me here for Dalibor and everything that Jan was saying, and then we'll come to this quote in a moment. For me, it's very important that every single one of you answers this question. Who owns your narrative? Who owns your
Yeah,
story? Who
exactly.
owns your life? Because if it's like, oh, other people are going to judge me, so now I'm not going to do it. No, you go live your life and you create the story of how you want people to perceive you. By the way, this is called personal branding. I'm not going to let other people say I'm a failure or I'm a success. I'm going to create my life and I'm going to put it out. And Ivana has a nice comment here on LinkedIn. Amazing spot related to what was just mentioned. If we do not try, we can't know if we can reach it. It's crazy only until you do it. So Nike, just do it. I think this is sort of what Jan was saying. What's the mindset that I have when I go in? I'm going to try. I don't care if I fail. When I try, I'm not actually trying to succeed. Here's the difference. I'm not trying to succeed. I'm trying to find out where my boundaries are. How good can I be? And there's going to be a limit, right? I mean, the answer isn't I'm infinitely amazing and wonderful. There's always going to be a limit. But I want to know where my limits are. I don't ever want to have lived my life and not pushed. I want to know where that edge is, which means I'm going to have to try to go past that edge and fail before I know where to come back. But that's why failure is never a problem for me, because the goal is not success. The goal is pushing my limits, knowing what I can do, striving for cool, new, exciting, interesting, curious things, just knowing how to live my full potential. And that you can't do sitting and risking and sitting on the sidelines. It's just not possible. The last thing I would add here, if it's all right, I just want to, like, I keep living all my life mottos with you all. Hopefully they help and inspire you. My parents always told me, look, if you're going to go to the ocean and you're going to get some water, don't go with a little thimble. A thimble is a thing you put on your thumb when you're sewing. It's tiny. It's this big. So it's like a tiny little bucket. You could go fill up and say, this is all I wanted out of life, and I'm happy. Me, I'm going to go with a wheelbarrow or a dump truck or what. I'm going to go take advantage of life. So yes, you could play it very small, no risks, everything's fine, but it means you're taking a thimble to the ocean. And actually, once you're so passionate, you're so excited, you're so willing, you're so ready, all the stuff that all the excuses that we have in life for why we can't make a change happen, all of a sudden those don't seem very hard. That's why today we're focused so much on getting the right mindset, getting the right excitement, the energy, the motivation, because then the actual implementation is easy. Because
exactly.
you want it. Yeah.
There is a interesting, story. A friend of mine is like 4 years older than me, Orlando Ayala. He was a chairman of Microsoft for Latin America. He was, living in the US, but originally from Colombia. Great guy. He was kind of my mentor. And he told me once, he said, Jan, if you will screw something, you should not screw some small thing nobody would mention. You should screw big thing everybody would talk about. And this is the same.
It's the same. If you're going to go out big. Exactly. Right?
If you think about successful entrepreneurs, usually their first project failed.
Yeah.
That's why they are very often saying fail fast. Right? It's easier, right? So this is it. And the thing is that we are learning mostly by our own mistakes. That's what we know from neuroscience. But because of the FOPO, we are afraid to make new mistakes, and that's why we are afraid to make decisions. Right? It's not decision by itself. What is the problem? But it's our fear. What will be the outcome of that decision? This is why we are not taking those decisions. But once you will be able, and the other thing is that if you want to be manager today, I had a interesting discussion with that was my previous call with some nice gentleman. He's doing karate, and he asked me, what kind of the high level math you really needed in Microsoft when you were Microsoft president for Europe. I said, this was the math from the fourth class, basically. It's like adding, dividing, and all of that, stuff, and nothing else. No integrals or derivation or stuff like that. Nothing like that, really. What you need to know, it's really how to work with other people,
Yeah.
and how to make decisions, right? And how to make decisions which will be like rational, but you will still involve your like gut feeling. For example, if you
Yeah.
are hiring somebody, rationality is great, but you may still have some signals here that it's not right decision, and you should not take it that easily, because I mean, it's called intuition, basically. And the women's got even deeper intuition, because you were like taking care of the kids and everything. And if the men were like hunting and somebody was coming, those women, they would need to figure out, those are the enemies or are they friends, from the body language, basically, right?
Yeah.
Days. And this is what we have. Everybody, we've got like small computers around our in our gut, and that's how you can figure out whether the other person is authentic or not. It's called congruence if it's in harmony,
Yes.
incongruence if it's not in harmony.
Yes. I would love at this point, Jan, for anyone who's listening live and wants to share with us, where are you feeling stuck or what changes do you want to implement? A lot of times, what we hear from the business side is people want to spend more time, one, being intentional, meaning when you go into a meeting, you don't just go, oh, it's my sixth meeting of the day and I just let things happen to me. No. How do I stand up? What do I want to get out of this meeting? How do I want to show up in this meeting? That's what I mean by intentional. It takes slightly more effort up front, but everything else goes much more smoothly when you're intentional. I would also say build in reflection time. A lot of people say, I have no time to breathe, I have no time to think. You have to prioritize it so that you have the space to think bigger, get out of the day-to-day, get out of the execution, and not just work in the business, but on the business, on yourself. And 1 hour a week is enough. But prioritize that so you have this space to rise above. Don't get stuck in the day to day. Rise up. And
Yeah,
we have a nice big comment here from Wojciech. If
we
you
will
want to
not
bring that.
be visible now for some time.
Oh yeah, we'll have to.
Jump.
Good, we'll do our fitness while we're here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it? It's a
Yeah,
long one.
your English is still a little bit better.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Wojciech's asking, how do we apply the same approach as Jiri with top 5 within a hierarchy culture standards as a big enterprise? My experience is that I can perform with top management on a good level, but sometimes hierarchy within organization is a problem, especially to perform with argumentation with someone who's not in top management now. A bit old school, but still frequent experience within organizational culture. I'm not super familiar with the words Jiri and top 5, so
I will talk about it a little bit. Okay. So, middle managers, okay, it is very important part of the organization. Usually organizations are making mistakes. They are putting their, junior people, maybe they've got a good, rating in the school at Harvard or Stanford or whatever. And those people, they need to add value to the bottom of the pyramid and to the upper part of the pyramid, right? To really, they should basically enable good communication and stuff like that, and help. And it's a very tough job to be in the middle of the organization. Unfortunately, very often they are putting there, some young, inexperienced, people, or some toxic people, whatever, and they are just sending email back and forth, nothing else. There's no additional value. I'm exaggerating a little bit for a good purpose. Okay. Now, what you can do, whether you are up there, in the headquarters or in the field, you should, go around them and talk to your counterparts directly, right? That's why I think, those people in the middle, they should spend some time in the field at the bottom and in the headquarters, and then they are good. And it's a really tough job, to be in the middle. In fact, I think it was 2004. We were like 20 members of the Microsoft leadership team, and we were modeling human society, and we were like, government, middlemen, and I think we didn't call them slaves, but workers, something like that, right? And it was for like 3 days, and I really learned a lot of things. So this is very Wojciech, this is very tough, to work with those people. But if necessary, I would go, around them. I've always got, a great relationship with the top guys, and if something like that happens, I will give you some typical example. Because my title was a Chairman Europe Microsoft Corporation, if somebody new appear in the middle, that person would go directly to me and would ask me questions like, how many Office 365 we've sold in Europe? And I said, you've got like product managers for that, right? It's not like, I mean, I can figure out and look at the MSLs, which was like analytical tool, but I said, right. And usually if they were asking some tougher questions, I said, okay, if you will tell me how it can improve our market share, revenue, profit, customer and partner satisfaction, and employee satisfaction, at least some of those, I will answer. Otherwise, I really need to take care of those, 5 most important goals for the organization. And usually 9 out of the 10 never reply back, right?
Yes. But such good focus, yeah. That's what we need. Right?
And Microsoft was very little political organization, whatever. But at some point, we really got this, mid-level organization in such, shape. But a good thing is always, whenever there is a crisis, usually those middle, sections are cut, or at least, the number of the people is cut, and which I think is good. But again, I think it's important, and it's also a failure of the companies that they are underestimating those roles in the middle, because I think it is important.
Hey, talk about implementing changes in your life and at work, and talking about organizational structures that may or may not actually be serving this, how they need to. I have a prediction that in the future, every team, maybe not the small teams, but let's say maybe a unit or so, will have a coach. And so a lot of the questions that go to the manager, I'm having a conflict, I want to work on my development, I don't know how to do this, can go to the coach. And then the manager can really focus on providing value by managing the content, the direction of the work. But right now, since middle managers need all these different crazy skill sets, which some of them get promoted because they have a skill set, but not people management, right?
Right, exactly.
That we outsource some of that piece of it. And I think you're going to see performance improve significantly. So I actually see, if we are a little more creative in how we structure things, and not just shuffling how many middle managers we have, but really rethinking structures and rethinking who creates what value, and how do we focus them to just do that, and how do we get additional whatever ways of getting the other value. I think that's when you're going to start to see shifts in performance, shifts in happiness, shifts in engagement. But this is what the future of work will be. Now, this is what I mean by implementing changes in your life and at work. If you're struggling in an organization and you're feeling like management's not really getting it, don't sit back and be like, oh, poor me, and management's hard, right? This is what I mean by step up. Go up, pitch. Hey, we can have a coach for the team. Let's try it out. It costs this much per hour. Let's put a little bit of budget and measure the success of it. Do not let life happen to you. You are not the victim of things that are happening in life. Opportunity mindset. When you see something that's not working for you, amazing. Now I can be creative. I can go out. I can fix it. I can solve it. I can change it. I can shift things for the better. This opportunity mindset never makes you feel victim, because you always feel, great, I can do something about this. And the other thing I would say is, if you can't change your mind, I've used this before, every time I'm driving into Zurich, I will hit traffic, other than during COVID when nobody was on the road. Other than that, I will hit traffic. So on my phone, I have a playlist of podcasts that I'm really excited about, I want to listen to, and that's my Zurich traffic playlist. I am not allowed to touch it until I hit traffic. And now every time I'm going to Zurich, I'm like, yeah, awesome. I'm going to hit some traffic and I get to listen to that playlist now. So I can't change the situation. I can't change traffic happening, but I can change how I approach the situation. I can
Exactly.
change it to make it work for me. So this is what I want to tell people who are then going to argue with me and say, yeah, but I can't implement a coach in my organization. No problem. Then we find different ways. Do not ever feel you are stuck, trapped. Life is happening to you. You're scared. Rise up. That's what's most important if you really want to implement changes in your life and at work.
It is what you mentioned. It's called freedom of choice. That
Yes.
you cannot influence, environment, or you cannot influence the stimuli, but you can influence your reaction to that, right? Like the traffic. There's a traffic, so I can still, listen to some great podcasts, and this is it. Uh, what do you said about the organization and so on? I think the real issue is that the way there is not, well, let's put it in this way. According to Gallup, 70% of the success for all organizations is managers, the quality of the managers.
Yeah.
Okay. Saying that, we should spend more time developing leadership skills. And to be honest, I mean, look, I'm teaching today, like at the Luxembourg Business School. And I have some, lessons and seminars in SEAT, which is supposed at Harvard to be the best MBA in the world. UCL, King's College, in the past, Imperial College, right? I was at the Harvard, MIT, Stanford. All of those schools, they have a great courses on, leadership and management, but this is too much based on, motivation and too little on inspiration. And I think you need to today. It's not. I mean, you can buy the brains of and the hands of the people for the money, but it's kind of the short term, because if somebody will, pay more, they will, move. But you can't buy their hearts for the money. It takes, inspiration. And if you have a vision and they are able to believe in what you believe in your, vision, then they will stay for a very long time. And this is how the bonds are, built. And unfortunately, this is not. I think inspiration is not taught even in the best, schools, how to inspire people. There is a huge gap. And from the sport standpoint, I can tell you that all, coaches are complaining there is not enough material for the captains in football, basketball, handball. Just, mention it. I have like 5 different captains, like even the national, like the handball national team, Veronica Mala, I work with her. So this is it. It's broad. It's not only in economy, but it's also in sport. This lack of the
Yes.
leadership.
Yes.
Not
And I
talking
think,
about politics.
well, we would have to have a whole nother session for that. But I think what's really important for everybody who's listening here today, I mean, if you can imagine, the hour is almost over, but we need to really, in wrapping this up, we need to think about implementing changes in your life and at work is getting inspired, getting
Exactly.
motivated, and then creating very tiny micro habits,
Yeah.
small things, small risks. And what I say is, honestly, it takes 5 seconds of micro courage. So if you are not sure, but you're thinking you might be interested in a new job, it takes 5 seconds to just pick up your phone and hit dial. And then you're stuck. Then you're there and you'll do it. So you
Exactly.
don't actually need a ton of courage. You just need enough for the first step. So if you want to run a half marathon, you just need 5 seconds of micro courage to get the shoes on and get out the door, right? I mean, don't overthink things. Don't make things too hard. Take small steps. Take 5 seconds of micro courage. And as we heard, and Nike always says, just do it. If you
Absolutely.
fail, you'll learn. Get used to that process.
Exactly. Perfect. So there's another one from Wojciech. Inspiration and passion to do changes constantly, also in the case when the changes are not popular step. Absolutely. Very, I tell you, the leadership and management is not popularity contest, yeah, that's for sure. And, companies are not democracy. A lot of people think that, hey, it should be like democratic decision. Yeah, you should listen to the people, but it's your decision. That's why you are paid much better than the employees. This is it. I mean, you may think, hey, it's not for me. Fine, work in the public sector, right? No, really, the
But it takes you have to,
business
yeah.
is easy. At some it is business. It's on one side, easy. Well, let's put it in a different way. Business is simple, but it's not that easy, right?
Yes.
Business is simple, right? It's not that complicated. Like if you are cardio, chirurgist, it's much tougher job, But it's it is not easy because you work with a lot of people and with a lot of different people, and they have a
Yes.
different mindset, they have a different opinion, and opinions, and you need to put them together and inspire them. So it is a tough. On the other hand, it's it is fantastic when it it, it start to work. The feeling is absolutely great. Yeah. All
Yes.
right.
And I
So,
just made a note that can be our topic in 2 weeks, how to work with, diverse people, diverse mindsets, and how to get the best out of everybody and how to stay flexible to work with the different kinds. We've got our topic. Looking forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks.
all right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Take
Bye.
care.